Hey everyone, Michael Simpkins here. Welcome to episode 3 of the Police Instructors Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate you taking the time to listen. Again, my name is Michael Simpkins. I'm here sharing important information with you covering different aspects of law enforcement with an emphasis on training. In this episode, I'm speaking with Mark Simons, a friend of mine who has an incredible story to share, breaking down strategies to a positive mindset and overcoming our fears and self-doubt.
Bringing police instructors together, discussing training trends and more. Welcome to the Police Instructors Podcast, where industry training experts share their strategies on how to plan, develop, and design courses in a way that facilitates training retention. Bringing his 23 years of expertise as a police instructor to you, please welcome your host, Michael Simpkins.
Mark is a successful businessman and entrepreneur. He currently leads a personal training and self and home defense company in Franklin, Tennessee. He retired from law enforcement after serving for 30 years at a local agency in Wisconsin, where he was a member of the SWAT team and was responsible for use of force training for his department. Make sure you pay attention because Mark has some good strategies that can help you work through issues of fear and self-doubt and move forward and past whatever is holding you back. Make sure to pay attention all the way through, and I'll meet up with you at the end. Thank you for being with me here today, Mark. I'm extremely excited you're here. Welcome to the Police Instructors Podcast.
Hey, Mike. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Listeners, make sure you go by www.empowerwellness.net to check out what Mark offers. I'll tell you, you won't be disappointed. He's a really good guy. I've worked with him in the past. We've been friends for a while now. So let's go ahead and get right into our discussion about mindset with the first of a series of questions. You ready to get into it, Mark?
I think so. You may cross-examine at any time.
Let's do this, brother.
All right.
All right. The first question I'm going to ask you is there a secret or a technique you can share with our listeners that helps you overcome self-doubt and fear when you're operating out of your comfort zone?
That's a great question. And if I had to come up with a secret technique, I would say for me in my career path, it didn't come instantly, but it was breaking out of the stereotypes of what I thought I was supposed to be and behave the way I thought I was supposed to behave. I broke in as a trainer on my police department. Just me and another gentleman was the trainer. He was actually my supervisor. He was a stern, no-nonsense kind of guy, taught by the book. And at one point, he even took notes on me when I was training. And he came back and said, 37. I said, Sarge, what's 37? He goes, you said 37 times. Oh, great. Then the pressure was on. And then every time I'd get up there and talk in front of the officers, he had a little pen in his ear. And every time there was an I'd see him make a little hash mark. And, of course, the more hash marks you make, the more stumbling and bumbling I did. And that really threw me for a loop. And I was just trying to be a little mini me with him. He was the tough, stern, disciplinarian, and that really wasn't my style. And then one day he wasn't there to train, and I was on my own in front of the class. And I decided to just be myself and got a little silly and a little self-effacing humor. And lo and behold, didn't the guys loosen up, started paying more attention. And of course, I was serious during the serious topics, but I just think the secret for me was just to be myself and to work with the gifts that I had and not try to be somebody else.
We have a tendency to do that in law enforcement. We want to, well, not only in law enforcement, I guess, but with anything really, kind of mirror other people that we see that we think, might be successful. That's something that we want to do. And I can say that, from working with you when we were doing the active shooter training, and you still offer that in your business, I know, that is something that you're really good at. That's how you connect with the audience or the student, is by being yourself. And you do a really good job of it.
I appreciate that, Mike.
Thanks for sharing that, man. So let's get into the next question, which is about daily habits. You know, we have a tendency to develop habits in our lives. Sometimes they're good and sometimes they're bad. So what's one of your daily habits you strongly believe that contributes to your success?
Well, for me, I am a personal trainer, and I'm just doing, my second career after law enforcement, and that's probably the main hub of what I do. And I really believe in that. And so my habit, of course, is training daily at the gym. And I think for me, that daily habit has taken its own form as far as a mindset that ties in with law enforcement. I'm not looking to have rock hard abs or big muscles. I'll take them, but that's not really my goal. My goal is to unite everything together. So if I'm going to teach self-defense, active shooter, I'm going to be the best I can be. My body's going to respond the way I want it to respond. And of course, if I'm out on the street and I come across an active shooter situation or a personal defense situation, I've done everything I have. So to me, the daily training is something that is near and dear to my heart. I love to be creative, come up with new ideas, to be explosive, to be strong, to be flexible. So if there's anything I'd take away from me, that would be my why. My why is I want to be able to respond when it hits the fan with my whole 5 foot, 5.5 foot frame. How's that?
Yeah. Let me ask you this. This is kind of off topic or whatever, but based on what you just said, how important do you think, I already know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask this for the listeners anyway. How important do you think physical fitness is to officers today?
Yeah, it's like a loaded question. That's a nice softball that you throw to me, but you can take law enforcement out of it, but especially law enforcement. In fact, I was at your agency one time training officers in fitness, and you had one of your radios on. I've been retired now from law enforcement some 8 years, and the radio went off in the background, and I felt my heart rate go up. I could. If you can feel your blood pressure go up, I felt it. I could feel a flush, and I stopped and I turned my head and I looked at the face of the officers to see if they were responding in a nonchalant way or if there was an intensity. And to me, you don't know the kind of pressure and stress folks like yourself are under until you get out. And that when that radio went off, that was a sense of how important fitness is as a release for, heart disease and everything else that you're dealing with, the sedentary lifestyle of a policeman and the stress of going to these homes and seeing things that really you're not meant to see in many ways, from accident scenes to the way people live. And it's such a natural release. And then what they say, law enforcement is, 90% boredom with 10% explosiveness. And if you don't have that element of fitness, find yourself most likely on the disabled list, at least for a short time, if not for a long time.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've had several friends over the past couple of years retire from here, and they've all said pretty much what you just said, that you really don't realize how much stress you're under until you leave. And even the officers that retired here recently that were, working office jobs or whatever, there's still a certain level of stress that we are under that we really don't even realize it. And I agree with you 100%. I believe that physical fitness is very, very important, not only in law enforcement, in what we do, for everybody really, but it's a release for me, and I can really relate to that because I know that that's one of the primary reasons why I go to the gym every day is for that release. It's like my personal time. And the episode 2, I don't know if you listened to that, but if you haven't, I'd recommend it. The interview that I did with Chris Vroman, and he talks about, daily habits and stuff like that. And that time in the evenings when I go work out, that's my personal time right there. That's the time that I go and just let it all out.
Outstanding. Yeah, sure is better to let it out at the gym than it is at home in front of the family.
Right. Well, moving on, man, let's tell us about a challenging time or situation you or your business faced, but you persisted, made the tough decisions, and now that once painful memory serves as an invaluable learning experience.
I don't know who wrote these questions, Mike, but if you have someone writing for you, they're pretty sharp. This is a good question. And
Thanks.
and thinking about it, there was a time when I was a training on the police department, and I had to testify on behalf of an officer who used force and was an excessive force case. And I didn't want to testify, but he wanted me to testify. And I said, I'm not going to testify for you or against you. I'm going to testify to the truth. What is use of force in your situation that you did? And they asked me a question, was it excessive? I said, perhaps, but in my opinion, it wasn't deadly force. And that's what our agency was trying to say that this guy used deadly force on somebody. And I did not agree. Well, from that, of course, came after that trial was over in front of the Fire and Police Commission, I was summoned into the captain's office with the lieutenant or sergeant that was in there, and they grilled me and said, hey, how can you say this isn't deadly force? And I still I didn't want to compromise my integrity. So I told them why I thought the way I thought, but I was very nervous because I thought if they don't think that I understand what deadly force is, I can see where this might go. It might go to the point where, well, can you really be an officer on this department if you don't know what deadly force is and you carry a firearm and all this other things? But from that, I didn't budge my position. They somewhat relented, and we came to a conclusion that we both could live with. And I walked out of there so hurt that I felt betrayed by them because I felt they had an agenda and I did not have one. But
Right.
From that, the thing that came out of that was the resounding support I got from the fellow officers. I think they saw through that. I took the middle road. I didn't say I'm just throwing my hat in you because we're in a union together, and I'm not going against the agency, because I had feet in both worlds. I loved the department and I loved the guys. And so from that, I garnered so much support instantly from the officers, but eventually even from the same supervisors that challenged me that day. So that was very tough for a long time. I didn't even know if I wanted to stay on the agency after that because I felt like they were compromising themselves. But as it turned out, it was a very positive trial to go through.
Yeah, that's something that we've been teaching in our classes here recently is we need to, as officers, we need to support each other. And it's more than, like what happened with you. It's more than the officers being there to support you when you did something right, but it's also officers need to be there to tell us when we do something wrong or we make a mistake or something like that. That support kind of goes both ways, especially after being, kind of broken down or whatever in that meeting by your supervisors, and having officers there to support you. I could see where that really helped out or made you feel better.
It sure did.
So with that being said, what's the most critical skill you think police instructors need to master to overcome their fears or self-doubt in order to thrive today?
I would say the most critical, if you're up in front of a class and you're a police instructor and you're speaking to students, and especially if it's in-service cops, there's a lot of cynicism that can really fly around the room. Snickering cynicism, attacking of the program. And I've been with other trainers, younger guys, when they would really take offense to that and start, taking it personal. And I would say the one thing I would tell is don't take it personal if somebody has something negative to say about your training, your style, well, especially not your style so much as the material. They think this is crappy material or it's bone, it's brain dead or whatever. And I had a couple little sayings that I always helped me out. And one was, hey, you can do whatever you want. I'm not here to make you do anything. But if you want to go ahead and wing it and do your little jujitsu thing or do this little thing outside of the umbrella of the state of Wisconsin where I trained at, then go ahead and operate outside that umbrella of protection, of legal protection and everything else that encompasses, and go ahead and wing it and see where that gets you. And then for the most time, they're okay, I get it. I'll behave. So I think, for them to be able to just to point it out that you're not going to take this personal, that, hey, you can do whatever you want. So they're not trying to hurt my feelings. And so you don't take it personal, I think, and then we kind of put you on the same side as them. Like, look, we're all in this together. We all want to arrest bad guys, get convictions, and retire in good health and enjoy a healthy retirement. So that was the one thing I told them. The other thing is I would tell officers right away when they start messing around in the class and you start losing control of them is, hey, you guys are doing great. Keep this up and we should be out of here about 4:20 p.m. when class ends at 4, right? Well, every